Welcome to Leaders of Future. I'm your host Manish Behl. I'm inviting Dr. Rick Hanson.
Hello, Manish.
Today, when a world is full of distraction, you leave one, you find another. How can we train our brain to stay healthy, focused, and more strategically sharp?
Attention is your most fundamental property, and they are attempting routinely to steal it from you. So it's very important to say, no, I am in charge of my attention. Attention is like a combination spotlight and vacuum cleaner. It illuminates what it rests upon and then sucks it into your brain. It's the front end of the process of neuroplastic change. And these days, many powerful people and companies and sometimes tyrants, authoritarian leaders, are trying to capture attention.
Welcome to Leaders of Future, where we explore how today's inner work shapes tomorrow's world. I'm your host Manish Behl, founder of Mindful Science Center and Mindfulness India Summit. And today's episode is truly special. We have joined by someone whose work has transformed how we understand our brain, resilience, and lasting happiness. I'm personally a great admirer of his work, and his vision has made a deep impact on what I am doing today. So I'm honored to be talking to Dr. Rick Hanson today, one of the bestseller author of Buddha's Brain, Hardwiring Happiness, Resilient, and Dr. Hanson bridges a world of neuroscience, psychology, and ancient wisdom. His message is simple yet profound, that we can actually train our brain. I am inviting Dr. Rick Hanson. It's an honor here, sir. So let's begin our journey into the brain, leadership, and future of human and mankind.
It's a pleasure to be here. And I was just sharing before we started that India, what an incredible civilization for many thousands of years, has been a fountain, a wellspring of wisdom and culture for the whole world. So it's a great pleasure for me to be here with you.
There was an earlier myth that human brain hasn't changed. We are born with something and one thing never changes. In your book, Buddha's Brain, it's a brilliant book. I'm a great fan of your book. And it's my personal favorite. You have explained that, how our thoughts reshape our brain. Your quote, the neurons that fire together, wire together, beautifully captures the Hebb's concept of neuroplasticity in a very accessible way. And also, is there any moment in your life where you realized that, you need to change the thinking, the way you think, especially in the world of distraction and fast pace? These are the two main questions I start with.
Beautiful. First, I must give credit to two other scholars who they summarized his work as neurons that fire together can wire together. So I want to be very humble and appreciative of the source of that quotation, which really does summarize things. In other words, there's a traditional saying which comes from the early Indian tradition of Buddhism 2,500 years ago, that your mind takes its shape from what it repeatedly rests upon, for better or worse. With the modern understanding of neuroplasticity, the capacity of the nervous system to be changed by the information moving through it, which supports the experiences that we are having in the stream of our consciousness, moment by moment by moment, the modern update would be that your brain, Manish, my brain, everyone's brain, is shaped by what the mind repeatedly rests upon. That gives us a tremendous power inside our innermost being to repeatedly help ourselves to take in the good, to grow the good that lasts inside for our own sake and for other people. And that's absolutely fundamental to being a leader in today's world. We are so pushed around by forces outside us. They push us this way, they pull us that way. And it's especially important to realize you have a sacred power in the innermost temple of your being in which you can help yourself really receive that whatever is beneficial for you in the present, even in the middle of a very hard life. And there was a turning point for me about that. I was 15. I was very unhappy. I was a very shy, nerdy kid who skipped a grade, and I have a late birthday. And so I was very, very young going through school, and I felt like a total loser. and everything seemed hopeless, and I was awkward, I was unhappy. But then I truly realized, and I know when it happened, that even though I could not change the past, and even though the present was whatever it was, that I could always grow a little and learn a little in terms of who I was becoming. I could become a little more skillful with girls and not be so afraid of them. I could learn how to ignore the bullies. I could be more at peace with my parents. I could let go of this and that over time, just a little bit. But that was incredibly hopeful to me. It meant that the future was wide open. And what was most important was to help myself learn and grow along the way. And that changed everything for me. It gave me hope, and it gave me a sense of responsibility, because it was up to me to turn toward whatever was beneficial, whatever was useful, whatever was wholesome and wise, and then deliberately, whoosh, slow down those neurons, keep them firing together. So they started to wire those inner strengths increasingly into my own body so that I could draw upon them wherever I went. And that changed everything.
I think all of us go through this in a very young time, that we go through these sort of challenges, and those challenges make shape how our career look like and how our work look like. I also started a meditation at the age of 7. Probably I didn't have that distraction of phones that I should concentrate. Probably that inclined me to start meditation that early. But today, when there's world is full of distraction, you leave one, you find another. How can we train our brain to stay healthy, focused, and more strategically sharp?
Well, the first step is moral. And what I mean by that is moral toward yourself. It's a little bit like a furnace in a house that has a pilot light, and gas comes, touches the pilot light, and then it heats the house. Many people, the pilot light is out. They are loyal to others, they are for others, but they do not feel they are allowed to, or they do not take responsibility for the power that they do have to shape their own life. So that's foundational. It's really foundational, and it's really quite sacred, truly. And to feel that in your body, it's not that you're being arrogant. It's not that you're being superior or narcissistic. It's that you are on your own. You treat your own life like it matters. That's foundational. And then the second thing is to get control of your attention. Attention is like a combination spotlight and vacuum cleaner. It illuminates what it rests upon and then sucks it into your brain. It's the front end of the process of neuroplastic change. And these days, many powerful people and companies, and sometimes tyrants, authoritarian leaders, are trying to capture attention. Attention is your most fundamental property, and they are attempting routinely to steal it from you. So it's very important to say, no, I am in charge of my attention, and I am going to rest it where I want, and that is the front end of who I am becoming. So that's a second thing. And meditation is, of course, a fantastic way to train attention. There's much research on that. A lot of the early research on meditation, which was initially on transcendental meditation. Anyway, what research shows, it's like a muscle in your arm. The more you work the muscle in your arm, the bigger it gets. And I need to do more work on the muscles in my whole body. But I'm doing it. But anyway, in your brain, they're not muscles there, but literally neural circuitry starts to expand. More blood flows to parts of the brain that do certain kinds of work. So if you train your attention in meditation or mindfulness or everyday mindfulness, you get more control over your attention. And that's enabled by literally building up physical tissues and structures and functions in your own brain. One of the really important things to do repeatedly, especially in today's technological culture, is to go wide, go open, because so much of what we do involves a tight focus on literally a kind of a squiggle, a shape that has a meaning. Oh, those are the squiggles that mean dog. In English, whatever the squiggles in Sanskrit would look like, that means dog in Sanskrit. So we have to pay attention to a lot of those things. Right now, you and I are looking at a screen. I'm focused on your eyes like this. There's a place for that. There's a place for that. We do work, we think about things, but the brain did not evolve to do that for 12 hours a day. It creates a lot of fatigue, and in effect, it trains your brain in terms of dopamine processes to keep seeking the next shiny object, the next small thing to focus on or to get or to control. So it's important many, many times a day, literally at least every hour, take a moment to go wide. For example, feel the breath in your whole body for one breath or 2 or 10 breaths in a row. That will immediately change your consciousness and it'll change your physiology and stress level immediately. Or be aware of the whole room you are in. That does things neurologically that involve circuits on the sides of the brain. But when we raise our gaze literally to the horizon, we have much more of a sense of the whole, and there's less sense of taking things personally. We're more able to see the big picture. So that process, and in terms of your consciousness, if you're a meditator, to allow awareness to go out to the sense of awareness as a whole, your mind as a whole. That simple practice is, it's even better than brushing your teeth 3 times a day, in terms of its effects. So those would be the 3 things I would say to your question here.
The practice you just shared, it's a simple practice, but what is happening? The world is becoming faster and they think everything very instant. We need everything in 30 seconds, 1 second. And sometimes these meditations do not work like this in a manner. Bestseller authors like James Clear talk about atomic habit, or Charles Duhigg talk about power of habit. How we are trapped in this habit loops, whether it's procrastination, it's self-doubt, and certain practices doesn't allow us to go near to this meditation and practices. In your book, Buddha's Brain, which just definitely had made a big impact on me, you have explained that Paul MacLean's the trained brain model. How does these deep-rooted patterns and biases impact our daily decision making, especially for those who are in leadership roles, who have to deal with various challenges? And what advice would you give to someone who feel trapped in their old habit pattern, which is unhelpful pattern, as I said, procrastination, anger, or self-doubt? They can really align themselves with any sort of practices which help them.
Beautiful, profound question. The first thing is to if you think about the structure of a habit, to quote an old proverb, wisdom is choosing a greater happiness over a lesser happiness. So there is a lesser happiness in the habit. It is pursuing some kind of a reward, and the brain is trained to choose that reward, whatever that reward might be, like avoiding something or taking alcohol or something. And so what we need to do is we need to help our brain like another reward, a bigger, better, more fundamental, more profound reward. And that's the fundamental process of habit change that Atomic Habits and other books, etc., that are about habit change talk about. So you might ask yourself in a very deep way, what is the payoff for you in the current habit? What is the reward in it? And then what would be a better reward? Something more fulfilling, more meaningful, more pleasurable, better. And then what you can do repeatedly is very straightforward. You're trying to train your brain like training a dog. So let's suppose that you are trying to help yourself become more comfortable speaking up in public. Public speaking is very frightening for many people. Or maybe you are trying to help yourself not eat so much food that is bad for you, even though it is comforting in the moment. So what you might do, or let's say you are avoiding exercise because it's just easier to sit on the couch and watch television or play video games. So let's say you think, okay, instead of playing video games during that 2 hours, I wish I would do something different. I wish I would go for a walk, read a real book, talk to my partner, be with my dog. I would rather do those other things. So what you can do is, before doing that other thing, imagine how great it will be for you. So you're training your brain to associate the new behavior with that particular reward. While doing the new thing, really, really help yourself feel how great it is to do the new thing. And then after doing the new thing, remind yourself again and again and again how great it was. That's a fundamental process. You can do other things like help yourself, like do not bring certain kinds of food or alcohol or drugs home. You can find other people to do things with that will help you choose that other thing. But the fundamental process is operant conditioning in behaviorism. It goes all the way back to Skinner and pigeons in cages pecking at something. We want to help ourselves pick a better reward. So that's number one. And then the other key to do is to risk the dreaded experience. Aha. So there is, let's say, a thing we want to do, like speak up in a business meeting and be braver in public speaking, let's say. But immediately we expect that to be a painful, scary experience, perhaps based on our history. And so then third step, we stop doing it. We don't do it. So you see the 3 steps here. There's the positive thing to do. There's the expectation of pain. And then boom, there's the shutdown. Very straightforward. I think of it as 3 laps around 3 sides of the triangular track. So be aware of the second leg of the triangular track, the dreaded experience. And then in very small ways, step by step by step, moving up the ladder, risk the dreaded experience. And then when it goes well, as it almost always does, take in the good of that success. And that process of deliberately pushing yourself to expand, it's sometimes called the window of tolerance, or I think of it as the bars of your invisible cage that you are stuck in, that is bounded by the dreaded experiences that define the perimeter of your cage. It's up to you to push those bars back, but one small step at a time. What's the minimal step that you can actually take to push back the bars of your invisible cage today? And when you do it, celebrate yourself. Experience the success. Really let it sink in so that, again, you are associating reward, the experience of success, with the behavior you want to encourage. Those are the 2 fundamental strategies for any kind of behavior change. Increasing the reward down the path you want to walk and being prepared to risk dreaded experiences that trap you in your own cage.
These are the 2 simple steps and people can follow. There will be a dramatic shift in a behavior. There's one very interesting line which I use in my workshops quite often. And our mutual friend, Dr. Ronald Siegel, was here in a conference when we were doing, and which captures this thing, the brain is Velcro for negative experience and Teflon for the positive ones. And sometimes it happens that, we are not aware of our negative biases or negative experiences. We don't know how this negative are stuck, because it's also, again, as you said, is evolutionary, and we have to take conscious steps like how you explained. And in your book, which is Hardwiring Happiness, it emphasizes, taking in good what you just said. And this technique which you just shared, I think it's a very important step, that how can we, without falling into toxic or forced positivity, we can then stay focused.
The fundamental structure that I think is a path for people, I summarize in 3 steps. Let be, let go, let in. In other words, the first step is most important. We accept what is true. We may not like it, but we accept its reality. We accept our own experiences, even if they are painful in the moment. We are mindful of them. We be with them. Pushing them down or getting angry at ourselves for the experiences, for just what's it like to be you right now. If you're angry at yourself for what it's like to be you right now, that just makes things worse. If you are, what's it like, what's the world like right now? What are the conditions that you are dealing with right now? If you are angry at them, it makes it harder to deal with them. So the first step is to be with what is true, to feel it, to be with it. But that's not where we stop, it's where we start. Some people get stuck in simply being meditatively mindful and witnessing and observing and noting and all that, but they're as neurotic as ever and they're not changing the world. So we need to not just be with the world, we need to work with the world. We need to be not just be with the mind, we need to work with the mind. That then goes to the working with the mind has two aspects: letting go, preventing or reducing that which is problematic and harmful and painful, and letting in, growing, protecting, preserving, creating and increasing that which is beneficial for us and others. So that's a good model for people: letting be, letting go, and letting in. And we kind of move around all three of those. There's a natural flow often when you're upset by something. You're observing something negative arising in your mind. You be with it. You understand it. You explore it. Maybe you try to sense down or investigate what's deeper and younger in it, maybe from your own childhood, your own history. And then at a certain moment, you move into letting it go, releasing, disengaging from it, disidentifying from it, separating from it, not fueling it. Many people ruminate. And what that does is it reinforces that negative material, including literally neurologically in your brain. So you're letting go. And then as you release, it's very important, there's a space that opens out then to receive, to open to what is good inside you already, to open to the good that is also true in the world, to open to the actions you can actually take, to not passive, actions you can take with thoughts, words, and deeds to make things better. So that's the overall process. I think of the mind as like a garden. We can witness the garden, we can pull weeds, and we can plant flowers. And those are the three great practices here. So in all that, to finish, it's crucially important to plant flowers in the garden of your mind that will bear fruit for you and other people. The brain does have a negativity bias. That's one of the most useful findings from neuroscience. Our ancestors needed to, get carrots and avoid sticks. Both are important, but if you don't get a carrot today, like food or a mating opportunity, you'll have a chance tomorrow. But if you fail to avoid that stick today, that predator or that aggression in your band, no more carrots forever. So we naturally, focus on what is bad, and that crowds out an awareness of the good that is also true. So for me, this goes back again, being on your own side, gaining control of your attention, and grounding in your own good heart. On the basis of that, I think of three fundamental steps that summarize a lot of life. Deal with the bad. Absolutely, deal with it. Whatever is outside you or inside you, it's real. We must address it. Do the best you can. Second, turn to the good that is also true. Not to deny the bad, not as a spiritual bypass, not as toxic positivity, simply what is also true. The good facts that are also true. And there's so many good facts that are also true, including the good fact of your deep down good heart and your own good intentions. And then third, as you turn to the good that is also true, take it in. It's very important to help your brain learn from it and grow from that which is beneficial. The three things that I do as techniques routinely: stay with the experience for a breath or longer. That's only a few seconds. Second, feel it in your body as much as possible. Feel the calm strength in your body. Feel the sense of connection with others. Feel the sense of your own worth, your own good intentions, whatever it might be. Feel the beauty and the wonder of the world around. Gratitude, thankfulness, right? Or inner peace through meditation, whatever it might be. Feel it in your body, not just in your head. Feel it in your body. And then third, be aware of what is rewarding about it. This goes back to reward. What is enjoyable or meaningful or both about it? And all those three things: extending the duration of an experience, expanding the somatic bodily sense of an experience, and highlighting the reward value of an experience are three fundamental things that are in your power to do, which will increase positive neuroplastic change in your brain, hardwiring the fruits of your practice, the benefits of your practice into your living body, so you have them increasingly with you wherever you go.
I remember meeting you in San Francisco, and you explained to me your concept of feel that time.
Yeah.
And it's a very profound concept, and now with taking in good is amazing way, a very simple way. I think it's easy for people to do. Recently, our mutual friend Dr. Chris Germer and I did a workshop on self-compassion for leaders in India, and I found that mindfulness and self-compassion are like two wings of a bird. You have to be mindful, aware of your thoughts, emotions, without judging them, without throwing them away. And then self-compassion is a heel that gives you, that you feel gratitude about you being alive, you being with people. Like I'm talking to you, I have a deep gratitude to you that, you've taken a time to tell our audience that what science talks about mindfulness.
Can I say something about what you just said there?
Yes.
Oh, that was lovely what you said. Actually, I think the bird has three wings. And because, of course, I can't think of any bird that has three wings, I use the metaphor of a three-legged stool to summarize the fundamentals of practice. And I will use traditional words. I don't know what they are in Sanskrit. I know what they are in Pali, a language of early Buddhism. Metta, Sati, Bhavana. Loving, knowing, and growing. Those are the three legs of transformation. Many people leave out the third leg of bhavana, of deliberate cultivation. They are mindful, they are compassionate, maybe they gradually change, but mostly what they have are states of being that are dependent on their practices and dependent on their conditions. States are lovely, but states also have the characteristic, as the Buddha taught and others know, of anicca. They are impermanent. States are impermanent. But for many people, those states have not become traits. They have not become lasting changes for the better that are based on physical changes of structure and function in the body, particularly in the brain. That's the third leg of the stool of practice: learning, growing, cultivation, bhavana. So that's why I think about the three-legged stool. And some people have a very, very big leg. They're maybe very mindful, but their heart is cold. Or maybe they're very loving and juicy, but they're not very self-aware. They're hijacked routinely. Or maybe they are both mindful and warm-hearted, but they're not growing, really. And so when the external supports that prop up their states of being, when those supports fall away, like during COVID, during a plague, or when something changes in their life, they look inside, there's not much lasting change. So to me, it's very important to think about all three of these, metta, sati, and bhavana. I start with metta, I start with the heart, because that's most fundamental. And then based on establishing that sense of heart, including heart for yourself, getting on your own side, igniting the pilot light, remembering that part. Then we move into mindfulness and awareness and along the way, help yourself to learn and grow and develop each day, full of opportunities to do that. Okay, thanks for letting me interrupt you, and I apologize for that, but I wanted to slip all that in.
That's so great. I think I completely agree, because bhavana is also a form of intention that, without intention, things you cannot progress towards. It's your guiding star. If you have mindfulness, your compassion, intention plays a very, very critical role. We have seen that in past leaders, like some of the leaders are still alive, like Nelson Mandela, Mahatma Gandhi. In fact, I have opportunity to meet His Holiness a few times. They embody sort of an inner peace. They have a resilience. They are, even under immense pressure, you have seen His Holiness has gone through immense pressure in his life. You've been a pioneer in the field of neuropsychology. You must have an opportunity to meet more people and studying such figures and their brain capacity for resilience. How can ordinary people can emulate their compassion and mindful presence in day-to-day life as a leader?
I think there is there are two levels to the answer, 2 steps. The first level is to have a growing sense of the depths of your own being. And what happens for everyone when your mind gets quieter, when the surface of the mind is less and less disturbed, like the surface of a pond, when it's less and less disturbed and it becomes less and less muddy, less and less stirred up with a lot of dirt. When that just gets a little quieter in ways that you and I have described, it's less cluttered with negativity, there's less rumination, there are more moments of stillness. Quick, important point, we must acknowledge external conditions. If you are a refugee, if you are a child in Gaza today and you are starving, it is really hard to have a quiet mind. If you live in a country in which there is great conflict, or you're living in poverty, if you're routinely mistreated, it's harder to have this quiet mind. These external conditions really matter. You and I are focusing on the mind, but it's really important to appreciate we need to improve the world as well. Okay, that said, as the mind gets quieter, traditional metaphor, the water becomes more clear in your being, and you can see the jewels in the bottom of the pond that have always been there. So naturally, people, as they get calmer and get quieter, maybe they have a moment of this in a temple or by the ocean or looking at the stars or when their baby is born, or maybe they have repeated experiences of this over time. You become more and more aware that in the depth of your own being is an unshakable core that has certain qualities. People talk about those qualities in different ways. I would summarize them as an inherent wakefulness and awareness that is neutral, can include anything, is spacious, is boundless. Another quality is lovingness, just a benevolence, as you said, intention, good intentions, wishing well for others, wanting to help rather than wanting to hurt deep down. And also there's an underlying fundamental contentment already, a sense of emotional balance, a sense of a fullness, and also a quality of wisdom. These four qualities of wakefulness, kindness and compassion, peacefulness, a peaceful contentment, and wisdom are central there. So I think great leaders, like the Dalai Lama or others in the world in past and present, are deeply grounded in that depth inside themselves that is available to all of us, that is inherent really in our own biology. Now, that's level one. Many people, me included, are very interested in level two, in which there is an opening through the bottom, through our own depths, into that which is infinite and timeless and transcendental and unconditioned, absolute, and some would say divine. And so there's an intuitive, felt awareness that becomes increasing over time. The veils start thinning increasingly between ordinary consciousness and that which is ultimate. Some people are scientific atheists. They stay at just level one. And I'm fine with that, maybe. And also some people would like to be in touch with level two, but it's not yet true for them. So they want to be honest with themselves about it. That's perfectly fine. And it's important to name both of those levels, which establish, I think of it like a sailboat that has a deep keel in the water. The deeper the keel in the boat, the more stable the boat is in the waves and storms and winds of change in life. So both of those levels are opportunities for us to deepen our keel and then have that inner stability even in the midst of very challenging conditions.
These enlightened beings, I would say, are humans like us, but their ability to go deep down their own behavior and human intelligence is far superior than a common man. And I think it's not about being enlightened, it's all about being more self-aware about self and environment. Now, we don't realize that we are not separate from anything else. We don't have to become any superhuman to get these strengths. It's already inbuilt into us. And like you're a brain scientist, you know that this comes as inbuilt. It's only that it's our level of awareness. And I think how Rumi said that, light or wisdom enters through a wound. When the situations are difficult, these people, shine more. I have two very important questions. And in your book, you have explained that early experience shape the brain of a child. Because we are ready with some thousands of millions of synaptic when we are born. And when gradually these synaptic connections started to die and wither off. And can you share the brain development stages? How do we groom these leaders of future in this noisy and digital world?
Wow, a huge question. So I'm a child psychologist, so I have a lot of background in early childhood. As a parent, do the best you can and recognize the fact that when you get older, as I have, and you grow and develop, hopefully through metta, sati, and bhavana, and through cultivation in particular, you would do things differently, perhaps. You realize, okay, there were some mistakes I made. So just realize you are going to make mistakes. It's a natural process. All that said, if I were to summarize some very, very fundamental things about children, The first is that it's important to not over-control them. There's a lot of research that shows that a lot of the interventions of parents are unnecessary. They are excessively controlling. And what that does then is it puts kids inside an invisible cage themselves that then creates conflicts with their parents when they become teenagers and young adults and older adults. So there's a place, in my view, my theory of parenting is big pasture, real fences. In other words, don't over control, but control to the extent you really need to protect your child's safety and communicate your own values and live by them. So that's one. Stay out of unnecessary control episodes. Give the child room to breathe, gentle guidance around the edges. But you don't have to be super controlling. And that's important if you're in the generation that had very controlling parents, which I did. They expressed their love through control and criticism. They were well-intended, but it had consequences. That's the first thing. The second thing is to really keep supporting that sense in the child of a fundamental innate goodness, that whatever their abilities are, whatever their future holds, that deep down inside, they really are a unique and precious and worthy being in their own right, independent of whatever grades they get in school or whoever they marry. Deep down, there's an innate goodness in them. That's extremely important to communicate, particularly in a time of tremendous social media in which our young people, starting young, are going to be comparing themselves endlessly to other people. And the problem with that is that on social media, what people put on their TikToks or their Instagrams and so forth is like the best of their life. It's the highlight reel, if you will. But each of us knows the whole of our own lives. So we're comparing the whole of our own lives with all of its natural messes to the student education or beautiful person, in that social media. And then people feel less than that. So it's very important to keep communicating independent of anything in the world, unconditionally. You are fine as who you are. Let's see, the last thing I'll say that preparing for the future is to really encourage our children to be able to tell the difference between the real gold and the fool's gold. What really is enjoyable? What really is fulfilling? What really, really matters most to you? And in the face of all these other people who are trying to manipulate you, like con artists, they're trying to trick you into wanting this or that. And yeah, enjoy yourself, get that new sweater, go on that vacation, eat that food, fine. But what really matters deep down inside, and helping them zero in on the goals, the values, the paths that will really, really most speak to their heart.
Thank you so much. Parents would listen to you and your advice, and especially those helicopter parents which keep hovering on the children constantly. So I think that's a great message to them. Many people today complain of brain fog, memory loss, harder to remember phone numbers, can't even write emails, and they can't solve their problem. Pew research recently shown in fact, I was reading McGill University, I found that technology and AI tools are making human brains weaker, and we are dependent on technology. And these scientists have given very interesting name to this phenomenon called cognitive offloading, and which means that we are letting technology gadgets do thinking for us. We have seen one study which, as I was reading, that London cab drivers, a very famous study, they found that they have a very strong, big hippocampus, so they can remember things, and certain other parts of brain become very physically stronger because their mental ability to remember the complex maze of more than 25,000 streets of London. Now with AI, smartphones, we are not using our brain. And it's an old saying says that we lose what we don't use. So are we at a risk of mental muscle atrophy? Are we making our brains weaker? Are this diminishing the purity and capacity of human mind and human intelligence? Or are we intentionally outsourcing our intelligence and intuition to machines? What should we do?
It is an enormous question, and it's important to appreciate that this question is vastly important and historically unprecedented. It's a completely new kind of cultural challenge. It's radical. It's new. Humanity has never had to solve this problem before. And so there are many sources of brain fog. First, I want to name that there are often physiological sources of brain fog. People have inflammatory conditions in their body because something is not right in their gastrointestinal tract or in their immune system. And those physical processes create a kind of a brain fog. People can become allergic to certain kinds of food. They're exposed to certain kinds of pathogens. Brain fog or difficulties around remembering things is that our minds are so cluttered that at the front end of forming a memory, there's so much clutter that the brain does not have the few seconds it needs to truly process that new input and begin its journey of consolidation into lasting structural or functional change in your brain. So it's the issues at the front end. So my own view about it is to, beware of the seductions. There's a place for AI. There's a place for it writing the first draft of your memo. There's a place for using it as an efficient way to get information summaries, but be careful about that. And it goes back to that fundamental matter of being on your own side and tracking, the higher happiness, the greater happiness that is most fundamental for you. Do not underestimate the seductions of those systems.
I have a last line of question which I want to ask you. If you have to leave a message for next generation, that if you have a chance to, make your own bottle, put your message in that bottle and float it for the next generation that can be found decades or centuries from now, what would you like to say in that message?
Take in the good every day, the good that is true inside yourself, around you, and take in the good every day to grow the good that lasts inside for your own sake and that of all beings. You have that sacred power. Don't waste it. You have this one wild and precious life, as Mary Oliver put it. Don't waste it. Take in the good to grow the good every day.
I think that message also goes for not for the future generation, for the current generation, maybe all the leaders, all the mothers, all the parents, all the students who are now struggling. Thank you so much. It was amazingly insightful, deeply grounding conversation, Dr. Hanson. And thank you for all your time. You have made a very important point that, that leadership isn't a tool or a tech. It's about cultivating our inner strength that no machine can ever replace: our wisdom, our compassion, and the three-legged stool you spoke about. And our focus and our mental agility is with us. And it's our innate goodness is very, very important to use for today's leader, be it in politics, be in companies or in hospitals or on the road. So Dr. Rick Hanson reminded us that investing in our brain is the most important leadership decision you can ever make in your life. Big thanks to you, Dr. Hanson, for sharing your wisdom stories and practical tools. I hope I enjoyed this episode talking to you quite a lot. I hope you have enjoyed. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Blessings.
Thank you so much.